Hey, 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 welcome to Lunch Break with Shel. My name is Shel Anderson and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I do Lunch Break with Shel short videos here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon Central Standard Time. Thanks for joining me today. Today we are going to explore the Waves of the Ocean collection. This is an early release collection. It's available to you guys on March 1st. I'm going to be making one card today, and if you stick around to the end, I have an alternative to show you, and I'll explain how I made the alternative as well. Now, you can buy this as the collection. If you live in Canada, it's $109.50. It includes the stamp set, the dies, the 12 by 12 designer series paper, the 12 by 12 blue foil specialty paper, and the Waves rhinestone basic jewels. You can also buy each of the items separately. You can buy the stamp set, the dies, the bundle, the DSP, the foil, or the rhinestones individually. All right, so that goes available March the 1st. Now, today we are going to be using the stamp set and the foils. There are three foils, three colors of foils, two sheets of each. Now, I just want to be careful not to touch the foils because your fingerprints will stay. This is the silver. Then we have this lighter blue, and then we have a rich jewel tone blue as well. I have two there because I'm going to try two and see which one I like better. My matte layer today is basic black, and my card layer is basic white. So right off the hop, I am going to glue this matte layer on my card front, and then we will set it aside and we will work on our art piece. Because after all, this card is all about the focal image. All right, we're just going to set that to the side. All right, I'm going to bring in some scrap paper here. The technique that we're doing today is called black ice technique. And typically you can do this on any color of foil. I'm going to start with the silver foil. And I'm going to grab my Stays On Black ink pad. And I'm going to bring in a little piece of cardstock that I have here. And that's just to keep my fingerprints off of this foil, because I don't want to spoil it. And what I'm going to do is just hang on here and drag this ink pad across this cardstock, back and forth until I'm happy. And I'm thinking that maybe this ink pad should have been re-inked a little bit, but that's okay. And it's important that you use Stays On ink for this, because Stays On will stay on slick surfaces. All right, I'm happy with that. Now, while we're in the process, I'm also going to do the blue foil, and we will see which one we like better. Maybe we'll like them both and make two cards. So I'm just going to do the same thing, pull this in, but I think I'm going to re-ink. Oops, let's grab the right re-inker. I think I'm going to re-ink my ink pad before I do this, because it seems just a wee bit dry to me. So I put the ink on, and I'm going to grab a spoon and push the ink down into the pad, like so. All right. There we go. Same as last time. I'm going to grab this piece of cardstock and drag the ink pad across. Here we go. All right, now we are going to stamp our images. Okay, I'm going to move that one out of the way. And I'm going to pull this right up tight in the corner here. And that ink is not dry. So we have to be very, very careful not to smudge that. Now I'm going to load up the stamp with the Stays On ink. And this is a detailed stamp, so I'm going over it repeatedly, making sure that I get full coverage. And we are going to stamp that down like so. Now, where's that piece of cardstock? Because I don't want a fingerprint. Well, that one didn't work at all, did it? Can't even see it. So that one was a bust. Let's bring in this one. And this time I'm going to, up here at the top, stick a magnet. So that I can stamp twice on this one, if need be. I think this one will work better because it's not quite as dark. I wanted to try the blue foil because I thought it would be pretty. And I'm sure it will be, but the image doesn't show up. There we go. We've got an image, but it needs to be stamped one more time. And this Stays On ink dries very, very quickly. And it is a permanent ink that sticks to slick surfaces. There we go. So you need to work pretty quickly with this stuff. And this is just a bottle with a furniture pad stuck on it, so I can use it to get some leverage and some good pressure. Beautiful. Look at that. All right. I'm going to lift that, making sure not to get any fingerprints on there. And we're just going to set this aside. And I'll take care of cleaning that afterwards. Now it's going to get noisy. I'm going to turn on my heat tool and I want to dry this. This is an important step because you need to make sure that this is dry because we're going to add Versamark ink over the top of this. And you don't want all this black ink on your Versamark pad. All right, now let me find my Versamark right here. Let's see how juicy that is. I think I need to re-ink this as well. Just bear with me a minute until I get some ink in here. Alright, now you can either drag it or you can tap it. I am going to tap it. There we go. Cover back on that. And now we're going to bring in some clear embossing powder. And we're going to cover that entire image with clear embossing powder. And this is going to make it even more shiny. Plus, it's going to seal all that ink that we put on there. There's nothing worse than I'm trying to get all that embossing powder out of my handle. There we go. There's nothing worse than putting a whole lot of work into a project and then to have it smear. Go. Put the excess back in here. Let's get the lid on that powder before I make a mess. All right, I'm going to get loud again. We're going to heat this until the embossing powder melts, and you'll be able to see it melt. Or I can. I don't know whether you can on camera. Now this is called the black ice technique. This technique has been around for years and years. Typically it's done with stamp sets that have one focal image or that is a combination of images such as leaves. And if you've been with me for a while, you've done this technique, you've seen this technique done. At one time I did what we called a pink ice technique, which was my take on this technique in pink. All right, there we have it. Enough of that noise. All right, isn't that beautiful? Bring that up closer to the camera so you can see all that glittery goodness. I don't think it's quite melted right here. You have to make sure all that embossing powder is melted. And when I held it up to the light for you guys to see it, I noticed that there's one area that did not seem to be done. And that looks much better. All right. There we have it. And I'm going to flip it over and heat the back side just to stop some of the curling. Sometimes the paper curls when we heat emboss. And before I put it on my card, it's easier to I'm just going to wave this a bit and cool it, because I put a lot of heat on there. Sometimes it's nice to flip it over and heat it from the back side, just to make sure that it doesn't curl and bow too much, and when you lay it on your matte layer, it's going to lay nicely. All right, we'll take this out of the way for now. And I need to put some Tombow on the back side of this. And I really prefer Tombow for this because it gives me that minute of wiggle room that I need to get this in place. And once it dries, it's going to be super, super ooh boy, I made a big mistake. I didn't cut this down. Yes, you just witnessed it here live. I made this panel just a wee bit larger than what I needed so that I would be able to cut this down. All right, give me a minute. I'm going to have to run this heat gun again and dry my glue. You didn't realize you were going to get the oops show, did you? Because this panel I want to trim down to 3 3/4 by 5. So this is probably going to stick to my trimmer. That's okay. We're going to use the big one. Let's just set this out of the way for a minute. And flip this over so I can have a look. I think I'm going to do this side. So there's 5. And we'll take it off the bottom. Made my life difficult, didn't I? There we go. That should work better. Sorry about that. All right, we'll go back to the Tombow. And I got glue all over my fingers. Bring this card base back in, and I'm sure this is gonna fit better. There we go. Maybe just a smidge. There we go. Now we're just going to turn it over and give it a back rub. All right, that, my friends, is the black ice technique. Now, the only thing we've got left to do is to embellish this card. I should have stamped some birds up here. So let's grab that StazOn ink and see if we can still do that. There we go. And I'm going to heat set that once again. Because I do not want those birds to smudge off. So I'm just remelting that embossing powder, and that ink just sinks right down into it. All right. Now, I'm going to wave that around a bit and let that cool, because I have not got this on straight, and that's going to drive me crazy. So I'm going to put this into my paper trimmer, and I am going to take off just a smidge. On 3 sides. Actually 2 sides. There we go. It helps if you put your panels on your card straight. All right, now in this set there is a pelican sitting on the pier, I guess that's what you call it. And there's the bird, we use the birds, and there's some greetings. Our friendship is a thing of beauty. You are so totally awesome. Happy birthday, and your strength is an inspiration. I wanted this to be a birthday card, and I was going to stamp this to be the embellishment. And by the magic of video, I have this already ready. I stamped that in Memento, and I colored it with, the rope is number 1000, the pelican is light smoky slate, the pelican's beak and feet are light pumpkin pie, and the pier posts are light soft suede. And I've also pre-stamped our greeting in Memento black. So we are going to grab some dimensionals, and I think if we had minis, it would make our life easier here. Because this little guy's body is pretty skinny. So we'll put a couple of minis there. And then down here at the bottom, we will use the regular dimensionals. Maybe one more mini down here. All right, so if I had a paper piercer, I could get those backs off. There we go. And I'm going to put him just right down this side, like so. And that just add a little something to it. And then on the back of this greeting tag, I'm going to put 3 dimensionals. Whoa, that one went right off the end. There we go. And we're going to pop this right up here at the top and just match it to the edge of the matte layer. How cool is that for a guy's birthday card? And I just left it plain on the inside. All right, as I promised, if you stuck around to the end of the video, I have an alternative to show you. And if you remember during the video, I told you about the pink ice technique I did a few years ago. Well, earlier today, I used the same stamp set and I tried the blue ice technique. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this was a lot of work. What I did is I took the silver foil and I put at the bottom, I pulled Pacific Point ink across the bottom. And then I took a sponge dauber
And if you can notice here, I don't know whether you can see because of the camera, there's a ton of fingerprints at the top of this. I really messed up on this one, but I thought I would go with it. So what I did is I took Balmy Blue and I just put some Balmy Blue with this sponge. And then I took Basic Gray and I used the fingerprints to my advantage, okay? And so then I had my background and I stamped this whole wave in Pacific Point. Then I covered it with the Versamark and the embossing powder. And because it's not Stays-On ink, it disappeared. All you could see was very, very faintly. So then what I did is I waited for it to dry a little bit and cool. And I took Pacific Point and stamped it again. And then at this end of it, I used Night of Navy. Then I did the same thing, Versamark and clear embossing powder, and heat set it again. And you'll notice that the Night of Navy ink actually turned purple. Then I stamped the birds on and finished it exactly the same. But that is an alternative that you can do with this. It's just a lot of work because this is not Stays-On ink. You're constantly fighting with keeping the ink where you put it. That's just a disclaimer. It's not to discourage you. It's just, I think this one looks super, super cool, but it is a lot more work than this one was. Okay? Anyway, I hope you like this Waves of Inspiration. As I said, this is coming available to you guys on March the 1st. That's only a few days away, so, or a few days from when I'm taping this video anyway. So if you are interested in purchasing this, please contact me, stampwithshell2022@gmail.com. And of course, if you live in Canada and don't have a demonstrator, you're more than welcome to contact me. If you do have a demonstrator, please order through your own demonstrator. That's it for now. Bye-bye.